Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Glory be to him indeed for allowing us to get here on this wonderful day. Technically the first day of Abiyus as you guys noticed, even the choir, we are now going to be just singing penance hymns, which is, in my opinion, like, it's so beautiful to hear because you don't hear the instruments, you just hear the angelic hymnodies from all the Muslims that you're going to hear moving forward. It's a beautiful day, so glory to God for allowing us to be here and to come embark on this journey with him and start this series. So, the title of our series called, what is it? Enemies of Our Christian Walks. Enemies of Our Christian Walk. It is based on a book called Diabolic Wars by Pope Shenouda III. There's a lot of PDF versions of it online if you're able to get it. I highly suggest you grab yourself a copy, or if you're like me, you get distracted easily if you're reading like a PDF version, get the physical copy. And if you're also like me, you have a hard time sitting down reading for a long time, this is a great book because it has like little sections that you can just follow along and explains everything in detail when it comes to diabolic wars. So, one of the biggest enemies in our Christian walks, believe it or not, is the devil, right? I think needless to say, we talk a lot about the righteousness, we talk about all the things that we do. The aim of this series is to kind of get an insight, understand how our enemy operates, how our enemy works, right? If you think in an aspect of like sports, whenever you're about to play a team the week before, the week leading up to you, what are you doing? You say praying, yes, you should be doing that. But from the aspect of just actually preparing for the game, you're doing what? You're studying your opponent, right? There's going to be film studies. You're going to be like, oh, this player likes to go this way, so we're going to defend him this way. This player doesn't do that well, so we're going to put him in that situation as well as possible. So you want to get to know your opponent as much as possible. Even if you look at war, like great generalists or captains, lieutenants, I don't know. I'm clearly not a war guy, but they have strategies they come up with based on who they are planning on going into war with. And our war is with the enemy, which is the devil. So that is what the series is going to be based on. And as every series, we are going to have a theme verse. The theme verse for our series is going to be Ephesians chapter 6, 11 through 12. Ephesians chapter 6, 11 through 12. And I want you guys to read along with me. It reads, "Put on a whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places." So this verse is what we're really going to hone on when it comes to this series. This verse tells us what kind of battle we are facing. What kind of war are we in? Are we in a physical war? Are you going to come up to me if somebody going to say, oh, I'm going to attack you because you're a Christian? Well, in different parts of the world that does happen, but what kind of war are we talking about right now? Say it again. Spiritual. We are in the midst of a spiritual battle. And so the series is we're going to be talking about our good friend, the devil here. And when he heard that I was talking about him, he actually got me sick because he was like, oh, you about to expose my playbook. So I've been dealing with a little cold. I've been lathered up in Vicks, taking all the Tylenol, Zingibil, you name it, for the past few days so that I can be here to make sure that you guys know what his playbook is moving forward, especially now that we're about to start the season of fasting. Right? This is the great fast, Abiyus, the great Lent, the one fast that Christ himself fasted, and this basically is the epitome of everything we believe because it leads us to what? Resurrection. So I want, like, I'm sure, like, you guys have heard during the gospel teaching, when Diakonao did the explanation, the next 8 weeks, all we're going to talk about is this fast and why it's important and why each week we should strive to pick up some spiritual habit, pick up something that is going to put us towards a righteous path. So, when talking about a spiritual battle, right, it's a battle that is unseen, but it is very, very real. It is a battle that is unseen, but is very, very real. And we're going to talk about like how this impacts us all, because it does impact us all. When it comes to diabolical wars, right? Diabolical wars are fought against everyone. No one escapes from them. Means every single one of you here, you are in the midst of a diabolical war. Meaning the devil, he is trying to say, come with me, leave Christ. I have these beautiful things to show you guys, leave God over there. Anytime you try to do something righteous, something good, he's a con artist. He puts something else that may seem good at the time, only to come back to see it's like, oh man, I was really off. So all of us, the first step when it comes to diabolical is accepting that we are in the midst of battle. And the goal for us is to properly equip ourselves. Our theme verse said what? Put on the whole armor of God. St. Paul, when he said this, he wasn't saying just like, put it on as a costume, put it on just because it's fun, put it on just, for the sake of whatever. No, he says, you are in the midst of spiritual battle, so you have got to have an armor to protect yourself. Are you guys with me? So, and this is a battle that has started since the beginning of time, since his fall. We're going to talk about him, like the fall and the different intrigues of the devil next week. But for this week, since we're just talking about the aspect of war, the diabolical war, every single one of us in. This started back after his fall, as early as Adam and Eve. Because who was the one that tempted them to eat the forbidden fruit? It was him, no? And just like I said earlier, what he does is, Adam and Eve now, mind you, they were living a good life in the Garden of Eden. They had everything they could have ever wanted. But what he says is, forget everything that God has provided for you. You know the one thing that he told you not to have? You know why he doesn't want you to have that? He doesn't want you to be like him. You see, he cons you into thinking that there is something greater than what you already have. That is the battle that we're fighting till this day. And no one is exempt from it. No one is exempt from it as far as even Christ himself. When he came down to fast, the next week when the 40 days begin, and Matthew chapter 4:11, verses 1 through 11 is when Christ himself was tempted by the devil. Imagine how audacious the devil is. But he is tireless. You have got to give him that. He does not stop. He does not give up. And why is this important? He is constantly fighting. He is constantly trying to bring people down. Why is this important for us? It's because none shall be crowned except those who conquers, and none shall conquer except the ones who fights. None shall be crowned except the one who conquers, and none shall conquer except the one who fights. When it said crowned, what do you think it's talking about? By the way, this is from the book, Diabolical Wars. What do you think Pope Shinoda is referring to? When you get crowned, what is it? You're some form of royalty, right? If I was to come put on a crown for you, on your heads, what is it for? You became some type of royal. You've won something, you've earned something. You're in a higher place than some people. Right? And this specifically, the crown that he's talking about is our crown in the kingdom of heaven. So he's telling us, this war is important because no one is going to be crowned except those who conquer. Conquer what? this battle. And no one is going to be able to conquer this battle except for those who fight. Are you guys with me? So, that's why it's important for us. But again, we're trying to get a little deep dive into how the devil is thinking, how he processes things. So why is it important for him? Why is all of this, go through all this great lengths for him to do all of this? Imagine, like, I get tired after, like, if I work 5 days without a break. He's been doing this since Adam and Eve. Why go through the struggle? First and foremost, he's a hater. Like, you guys know what a hater is? Like, you know, it's like, oh, you're a hater. When somebody's like, you're doing something good or something good happens to you, they like reluctantly like, oh, I'm happy for you, whatever. That's a hater. The devil, he is actually the definition of a hater. Because if Christ is love, the enemy of Christ is hate. So by that logic on its own, he is a hater. But why the hate? Why the envy, right? The example I just gave. Imagine like somebody, like, you know, you don't like, won the lottery or something. You're like, oh man, I wish that was me. You in that situation, you're a hater. Because what? You're envying something good happening for somebody else outside of you. Right? By the way, if you're doing that, I hate to break it to you, yeah, you're a hater. So from the aspect of the enemy, he envies those who lead a life of righteousness and hopes that they do not gain divine blessing that he deprived himself of. This is why he hates. He deprived himself, because remember, he was once an angel. He deprived himself of that great power that was given from him. And now he is like, until I die, until the end of time, until whatever, I'm going to make sure I take as many people as possible with me. That's why he fights this fight. Because if I can't have it, you can't have it either. And then this war is waged against God's kingdom. And who are the heirs to God's kingdom? Who's the heirs? It's me. It's you. It's us. We are the ones that are going to inherit the kingdom. Are you guys with me? And then even so that, like, because, you know, even the fact that we're battling this fight tells you how good, how amazing, how grand, I can't even put it into adjectives, God's love is. Who here is like a movie buff? Who here watches movies? I like movies, right? And when it comes to movies, if there's a plot for any government movie or any like rich person movie, how do they get to the person? Meaning if they, for example, like the president, right? If they're trying to get the president's attention or this millionaire's attention, it's like, oh, you have to whatever. The best way to do it is what? They take their kids, their wives, their brother, their sister, right? Hold them ransom. And then you've seen the movies is like, oh, if you don't give us X, Y, Z, if you don't give us whatever, and we're gonna send, like, kill your loved one. Imagine how great God's love must be for us, for the devil, because he can't get to him. In the movies, they can't get to the president. They can't get to the rich person, whatever but he takes us as ransom because he knows how much love God has for us. Do you understand how great that love is? Because he cannot get to God, he's all too powerful. He's like, I will take his loved ones. That's the best way I can fight with God, is by coming after us, because he loves every single one of us so dearly. Because earlier we said, all of us are fighting this battle. That means all of us, the devil looks at us and say, you are worthy of God's love, I'm going to take you away. You see, even in the wars, you have to pay attention to how grand, how large, how like immeasurable God's love is for you. Because if he didn't love you this much, he would never come after you. And so that's the why for him. The why is he envies the people that are seeking righteousness that he deprived himself of. Now we begin the when. When are we in this spiritual battle? So when does the battle tend to heat up a little bit? So in the book, it says all the time, right? All the time we are facing spiritual battles. But especially when we begin our spiritual work, he begins his resistance. So we're talking about the enemy. The moment we start doing our spiritual acts, the moment we say, let me seek my Father, the moment we say, let me walk a righteous path, he gets active too. He's like, oh, he's about to do something good for himself. She's about to do something good for herself. She is seeking righteousness. I got to do something about that. There's a quote Pope Shinoda puts in the book when he is quoting an early church father. He says, when the bell rings in the middle of the night for prayers, it does not only wake the monks to pray, but the devils are also aroused to fight monks and prevent them from praying. Think about that. The bells that have been rung for people to wake up for midnight prayers, right? Those prayers is saying not only awake the monks, not only awake the priests, it also awakes the devil's trying to make them stop from praying. Think about your life. Forget the bell, like that alarm you set to wake yourself up to come to church. That alarm you set to say, I have to pray today. The moment that alarm rings, the battle has begun. In that moment, you're in the midst of battle because not that alarm you set is to wake you up, right? But it also wakes up the enemy. Because when we begin our spiritual works is when he begins his resistance. Are you guys with me? And in the Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1, it said, my son, if you draw near to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. My son, if you draw near to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. This is what we have got to expect. Again, the whole idea, I'll keep repeating it, is understand that we are in the midst of battle. The diabolical wars, like the title of the book. Second, it's to understand how the enemy thinks. So when you think you're doing something good, just know that he is nudging you backwards, trying to pull you back to the world. And especially the season that we're about to embark on, Pope Shinoda puts this, he said, the devil, he hates specifically Lent. He hates Lent. Why? Because first of all, that is when everybody is, like, your most devout time of the year is during Lent. For everyone. Because, this is the fast Christ himself fasted. A lot of people, even, you can look around, like, even in the attendance today, you can see it's a little bit higher than other weeks. Because this is the time all Christians were like, this is a fast my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ fasted. If I don't do the other ones, let me at least do this one. Let me lock in right now. So it's more work for him. And second, this is the fast that he is reminded twice. One, when he tempted Christ, like I said, in Matthew chapter 4, and was defeated. And this is a fast that leads up to his ultimate defeat upon the cross. So just know that, the same way we pick up how devout we become during this season, how we just lock in and we do everything we're supposed to do, and we try our best to do so, he is amping up his ammunition as well. He is picking up, getting ready for battle as well, the same way we are. And especially because this hits a soft spot for him. All this to say, like I said in the book of Sirach, it says, my son, when you draw near to serve the Lord, prepare yourself for temptation. So this is to let you guys know that it is coming, right? It is coming. And this is evidence because I don't know about you guys. When it comes to fasting, like let's take the most generic thing. When it comes to food, like reading this book is when it's like I started connecting the dots. During fasting is when I'm offered the most free food in the world. Like I'm like, it's crazy. Non-fasting time during the Holy 50, after it's almost over, nobody will bat an eye. My office is like, we have budget issues, we'll not give you nothing. But come fast season, it's like clockwork. All the chicken, all the stuff that I can't have. All the stuff that's just like, and now I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, it's hilarious. Like he's working. Like he is working against us. And all of it is what? For you to fall. All of this, all this grand master plan is for you to fall. In Luke chapter 15 it says, there's joy and presence of the angels of God over one sinner. Not multitude, not thousands, not hundreds, not tens, not millions. There's joy in the heavens when one soul repents. So the way the enemy operates, just how there is so much joy in the heavens when one of us repent, there is so much joy in him when one person falls. Are you guys with me? There is so much joy, happiness. Today was a great day in the office. I made sure Suyum didn't pray today. I worked overtime today, but I made sure he didn't take communion. I pulled out all the stops. For him, that's a good day at work. The same way God is like, when he's happy, when one single soul, when the heavens rejoice, one single soul repents, vice versa, the devil rejoices in a single soul being unsaved, walking away from their salvation. So, moving forward, this is the nature of the war that we are in the midst of. Does it make sense a little bit? Should we not have our arms, our guard up? Theme verses say, put on the armor of God. Should we not be ready for battle? Moving forward, we're going to talk about, there's multiple weapons he uses against us, right? There's multiple weapons that he uses against us. And I was watching, I was on Instagram the other day. There was this dude, there's a video that had gone viral. He said, my favorite verse is, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, right? But then he was like, man, some of these weapons, they've been prospering against me. And the idea is there is multiple weapons against us. But for today, for the sake of time as well, the one we're going to hone in on, and the book states that this is the biggest one the devil uses against us, is laziness. This one struck a nerve, because even when I was coming up with this, I was like, I gotta get my stuff together, because the things that you don't even think are like spiritual warfare, the things that you don't even think are like the way you're being attacked is how he attacks you. If you sit down and think about like your day-to-day actions, and this is why, again, it's very important to reflect, to do self-reflection, to do spiritual reflections. Because if you don't sit down and take the time and you're just all about the act, I've prayed today, I went to church, I had Bible study. If you're all about the acts of the things that a Christian is supposed to do, which is good, but you don't take the time to reflect, you don't really see the progress that you've made. You don't start to see the work that God has put in your heart. You don't see God working in you unless you sit down and take the time to reflect. But we're going to talk about laziness as a diabolical weapon. You guys with me? What are we going to talk about? Laziness. I want everybody to say, because I had to do it too when I was coming up with this, I am spiritually lazy. I am spiritually lazy. I say this because if we don't recognize, if we don't accept, if we don't acknowledge the laziness of our ways, we've won. Like the devil's like, oh, he's good, okay. I don't have to spend as much time on him. I don't have to spend as much time on her. But if we recognize, again, if we're in this battle and we understand our laziness is what's pulling us back, our laziness is what's hindering us, we have a fighting chance, right? We can start to make some changes. Now, when it comes to laziness, how he approaches it is, you got to give him props. He does it in a way that you don't even see it coming. Sometimes it could be in a way of like, he almost cares for you, right? You've had a long week. Rest a little bit. Don't like, you work all day. You had an exam. Sleep. It's fine if you miss Sunday today. It's fine if you don't take communion today and day. It's been a very long week. You deserve rest. Right? That's how he cons you. He makes you think, and these thoughts, it's a psychological, mental battle that we're facing, right? He comes to you as like somebody that dearly cares. Please rest, indeed. You were helping your parents. You had this. He will use the good things that you've done to make sure you don't do more good. The biggest one in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church, I'll say, for those of you like that come early enough to reach the gospel teaching, every gospel teaching, it's telling you to come, repent, confess, and what? And what? Partake in what? In the Holy Eucharist. But especially in our community, like, and this is an ongoing thing, we think that we can't take Holy Communion until either from the age of 1 through 7, when we're about to get married, or when we're in our deathbeds. You don't think that's a spiritual battle? You don't think the enemy is whispering in the ears of our people saying, you're not worthy. You're bound to sin. Of course you can't partake the flesh and blood of Christ. You confess, you repent, but you know your nature, you know what kind of person you are. Wait off until you're a little bit older. Wait until you have things settled. Wait until you're a bit more calmer. Right now, this is your fiery age. Don't partake in the flesh and blood now. Do you see the seed that he plants in us and our people? I've had conversations with parents of saying like, my kids shouldn't take Holy Communion. Where does our church teach that? I have conversation with different folks that when they found out that like their child or somebody they care about is taking communion, they're like, oh, dude, you're not supposed to do that. That's later in life. Do you see the approach he takes? He will try to single you out, or he will put multiple group of people and try to bring everybody together. He is always working. Another message that he tells us, and since we're in the topic of fasting, because we're about to be in Great Lent, you broke fasting, right? Let's say tomorrow morning you wake up, you didn't know fasting was going to start, you had yourself some eggs, you had yourself some cereal. You know what he tells you? What he tells you is, you already broke fast today. Eat the rest of the day. You can start again tomorrow. Today is washed. Like, you already ate the eggs. You might have, if you're going to sin, if you're going to break the whole fast, you might as well do it the whole way. That's like the equivalent of saying, you had poison this morning. You might as well have it again today. You've already had it this morning. You see how he tricks us? You see how an amazing of a con artist he is? And this is why we have got to put an armor of God around us. Are you guys with me? The next thing that he puts in our minds is excuses. And excuses is a form of spiritual laziness. I want everybody to accept, acknowledge, and just understand that you making excuses for your spiritual laziness is a form of laziness. I don't have time to pray. I did this a while back when we were still doing classes over at YOTC. I would like to challenge anybody that tells me that they don't have time to pray. They don't have time to pray. How many hours are, like, you can break down the math. 24 hours in a day, yeah? 24 hours? Let's say you're like 1% of America and you actually get full 8 hours of sleep, right? There's 16 hours left. Okay, and I'm being generous here, right? So we're left at how many hours in a day? Because we are very serious about our sleep, all of us get 8 hours of sleep. So we are 16, right? From 16 hours, you go to school, go to work, what? How many hours? I'll let you guys pick. 8 hours. Okay. Oh, man. You've slept for 8 hours. You've worked for 8 hours. You've had a long day, right? How many hours are left? 8 hours. Let's say you wanted to grab some food with friends. That takes 2 hours, right? You wanted to come and take a nap because you've had such a long day. I understand. Life is hard. Another 2 hours. How many are we left with? Oh, so, what? Yeah. 2 hours for lunch or whatever food, and then, what did I say? 2 hour nap, yeah. 4 hours, so how many hours are we left with? 4, hey. 4, guys, 4. This is not a math lesson. We gotta get. You see how the devil's trying to distract us right now by focusing on math and not on him. 4 hours, and then miscellaneous activities, errands. Let's say being generous, 3 hours. That could be scrolling on your phone, watching an episode, whatever, like TikTok, Instagram, Netflix, whatever it may be. You spent 3 hours on that. There's 1 hour left. 1 hour left that we can give to God. But I won't even say go as far as like an hour. That may be too drastic nowadays. Sitting down for 20, 30 minutes with God. Do we do that in our day-to-day lives? But what the devil wants you to believe is that you're too busy. You don't have time because you're the most important person on the universe. No, I'm serious. That's how he makes it seem like. I have this commute, and then I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. Oh, I'm so exhausted. I need to sleep. All psychological warfare, diabolical wars. That's how he enters through the mind is how he speaks to you and say, you don't have time to do these spiritual things. And even in times where we're like are about to lock in on something, for students, it could be like I have exam week. For people in the workforce, it could be like I have a promotion or I have a deadline coming up. For families, like, oh, we're about to have a kid, or we have a wedding to plan. What I'll say is striving for success in different aspects of our lives does not justify your spiritual laziness. I'm here to tell you right now, come Judgment Day, when you're asked, well, how come you didn't pray? How come you didn't do the things I asked you? Lord, I had a deadline to meet. Lord, I had an exam I had to study for. Lord, I was up for that promotion. That's not going to work. That's not an excuse. That those acts don't justify your spiritual laziness. Our spiritual laziness, I should say. Sorry. So, and then there is the false comfort. We won't get too much into that, but false comfort in your spiritual life is also a form of laziness, where you say, I'm not like the others. I'm good where I am. I don't need to grow. I don't do all the crazy things other people do. I still do I like my little, square that I have for Christianity. I want to stay in that little box. We have got to be vigilant. So when a soldier puts down his weapons and refuses to fight, then you're easy prey. Again, I keep emphasizing, this is why we say, put on whose armor? God's armor to protect you. So the one we just talked about is laziness as a diabolical word, because the way I just explained to you, the devil will never come and say, hello, I am the devil. Nice to meet you. Here is some sin you can partake in. He won't come at you like that. That's why we have got to stay vigilant. That's why we have got to stay on top of our game when it comes to our spiritual acts, when it comes to even the things that we experience in our day-to-day life. The second one is, we talked about laziness as a diabolical weapon. The second one is the gradual descent into spiritual sleep. So all these things that he was doing, we just talked about right now, is so that he just plants a seed, he lulls you in, and then what he wants to do is just make sure you're asleep spiritually for good. All the things that he was pulling you away from, he's setting you up for you to just be in a spiritual slumber. So, things like delaying in good, meaning that I'll do it later, that I don't have time, that's how he lures you into sleep. Because now that I don't have time, or I'll play later, it becomes I'll pray later tomorrow. I'll pray later tomorrow. My dad always tells me it's like one of the principles that he's instilled in me is tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is a concept, it's not a day. If you're going to save something for tomorrow, let it be food or money, not the things that you're supposed to do. Say if you want to save for something for tomorrow, for today we have to eat it all because you can't eat it tomorrow. But the food or money is what you save for tomorrow, not your spiritual acts. When that thought of I'll pray later creeps in your head, that is your sign to immediately pray. Because you're in the midst of a diabolical war right there. The thought of I'll pray right before I'm about to go to sleep. Or even, this is the one that I've fallen to, I'll pray in bed. I'll pray in bed as I'm falling asleep. The moment those thoughts start to creep in your mind is the time to drop everything, and right then, that moment is when you have to pray. And then the thing that we don't recognize about laziness is it's a gate into other sins. You see, this is how far in advance the devil is thinking. And we're going to use the King David as an example. So if we look at the book of Samuel, verses chapter 11, 1 through 2. This is when David was king already, right? David's he was already established king. He's been to many battles. But the first chapter, and pay attention to the words, it said, then the appointed time when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab and his guards to Israel with them. So pay attention to this. Is who's supposed to be out in battle? What's his title? Yeah, kings. And that time, by the way, like the kings would actually be the ones that go lead their armies into battle in the times of David. So the king is supposed to be in battle. It's not like today where the president's calls and like, oh, general, release this, release that. No, that's not how that works. Back in the day, the king will be the one that leads his men, his army, into battle. That is what a king is supposed to do. That is the task of a king in time of battles, in time of wars. Are you guys with me? But he said, instead of the king going, he sent who? Joab and some of his men to go out into battle for him. Now, that right there, it could be taken as laziness, because he is not doing a task that he's supposed to be doing. Are you guys with me? And then the very, very next verse, this is what I read you guys was verse 1. Verse 2, it reads, Then one evening David arose from his bed and went up to the roof of the king's house. And then from the roof of the king's house, who does he see? You see how far in advance he's thinking? He is using the laziness to lure him into lust. This is how far calculated the devil is, if we're not vigilant. Now if David was in battle, right? No Bathsheba. Bathsheba wouldn't even be mentioned in the Bible. He wouldn't, and then the debacle that came after him sending his wife, the Bathsheba's, husband, to go get killed. You see how that one little act of laziness is like, oh, I'm not going to go into battle. It's fine, I'll send my men. That laziness, how it snowballed into these great number of sins that David committed. Are you guys with me? So laziness is a gateway to other sins. It's also a gateway to pride. And the lazy person assumes they are fine and they don't need to strive for spiritual growth. This is the people we talked about. I'm fine doing these little things. I'm fine as long as I pray, as long as I come to church. I'm good. I don't need to grow. I don't need to read more. For what? The lazy person spiritually, then it's pride. It's like, I'm enough. I've done enough. I do the little things I give the time when I'm supposed to know. You are a Christian 24/7. Just you coming to church is not enough for you to show that you're a Christian. How do you act throughout your day-to-day lives? How do you interact with people at work? How do you interact with strangers that you see on the road? Saint Mercurius the Great, he says this, and this, I think, if you don't take away anything, really, really hone in on this quote from our early church fathers. The mark of Christianity. The mark of Christianity. Now, mind you, it's starting out with very, very strong stance, authoritative stance. Like, this is a mark of a Christianity. If you say you're a Christian, this is what you ought to do. It says, however much a man toils, however many righteous he performs, to feel that he has done nothing. So whatever that you've done, let's say you go to Mahalit, you go to come make sure you're here for Kidan, do liturgy, and then you go serve. The mark of a Christian is to say, I have done nothing. This should wake us up if we're in that somber state of like, I'm doing enough. There is never a time for you to say, I have done enough. The idea of like, I've done enough for my Lord is a thought planted by the devil himself. It continues. It said, and in fasting to say, this is not fasting. And in praying, this is not prayer. And perseverance of prayer, I have shown no perseverance. I am only beginning to practice and to take pains. And even he is righteous before the beginning of every day. He should every day have the hope and joy and the expectation of coming the kingdom of deliverance and say, if today I have not been delivered, I shall tomorrow. This is a mark of a Christian. For all the things that we do, have the heart to say, I've done nothing. And I will continue to do more. And then the final thing is, It's time that we start recognizing laziness as a sin. I think a lot of the times we tend to say, this is a sin, this is not a sin. And there's that gray line of, like, if it's not a sin, I'll do it. Laziness is a sin. Matthew 25:26. Chapter 25, verse 26. This is when Christ was talking to the parable of the people that he gave money to. For the one that didn't do anything, what does he say? You wicked, what servant? Lazy servant. So if Christ himself rebukes the lazy, we have got to rebuke the lazy that's within us. Are you guys with me? And then I would say the following things is just taking immediate action. We are in the midst of war. We've established that, yes? And everybody agrees with me, yeah? Show of hands. We are in the midst of war. So in the midst of war, there is what? There are soldiers and there's civilians. I'm asking you guys, my brothers, my sisters, be a soldier. Don't be a bystander. Don't be a civilian. Because you are in the middle of the battlefield. And if you're going to act as a civilian, if you're going to act as a bystander, what happens is the enemy will take you captive. And this is regular in any other wars too. If you find somebody that, like, the two countries are in a war, they find either a weakened soldier or they find a civilian from the country they are in battle against, they'll take them as captures. For us, our adversary, our enemy is the devil. And I will conclude with 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 8. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. He is always searching. And this verse is like, you guys seen those National Geographic movies or shows? How, like, the cheetah, the lion, how they're always, like, looking for a prey? How they're always sneaky, ears the bent back, whatever. That's how he is always looking. And that's why St. Paul tells us, be alert, vigilance, and of sober mind your enemy prowls. Be alert in prayer, discipline in fasting, active in our spiritual lives, and be ready to arise and fight. Now, I do, because we're about to start this season of we're about to embark on a journey on a walk with Christ. I do have a homework for you guys. And it's a very, very simple homework. If we can have that up on the board. I underlined that for a reason. On paper or journal. So on paper or journal, what I want you guys to do is identify 2 to 3 lazy habits that you have you plan on fixing during this Lent. The reason why I underlined the paper and the journal thing is because I fall victim to this too. I take a lot of notes on my phone, on the Notes app. Again, it's so distracting. The moment a notification comes in, the moment like something comes up, whatever, I'm easily distracted. And you actually taking the effort to go out, get paper or a journal, that on its own is an act of being unlazy. And then to avoid distractions, but identify 2 to 3 habits. If you don't feel like you have any, you're a perfect person, boom. I'll give you one right now. Pride. You're a prideful person. So now you just have to add 2 more to complete this list. So I've done half the homework for you guys if you feel like you don't have any practices. And then the next slide would be the discussion questions for the life groups. I encourage you all, if you've signed up for life groups, to contemplate on these questions ahead of time. And if you're haven't signed up for groups, I will encourage you to form one from the people here, call up your friends, and just sit down and discuss during this time of Lent. And then I pray all of us are going to be alert and of sober mind. I pray every single one of you, my brothers and sisters, have a wonderful Lenten season, spiritually enriching Lenten season. Glory to God.